So I want you to picture a scenario. It's probably Tuesday morning.
Okay.
You're on a Zoom call. You're nodding along. The marketing director is talking about, I don't know, quarterly goals, something like that.
Usual. Yep.
But at the same time, you've got your phone propped up, right?
Yeah.
And you're tapping out a text to your partner about dinner. And just to feel like you're winning, you have an email open on another monitor that you're tweaking.
Ah, the classic triple threat. I know it well.
Exactly. And in that moment, you feel like a wizard. You feel incredibly productive. I mean, I've got to admit, I have worn that multitasking badge with a lot of honor over the years.
It feels good. It feels like you're cheating the system, right? Getting 3 things done at once.
Yeah. But we're here today to look at the research and ask, is that feeling real? Or is it, a total delusion?
It's a great feeling. I'll grant you that. But I hate to be the one to sort of strip that badge off your lapel right at the start.
Yeah.
The biological reality is you aren't being a wizard. You're essentially doing 3 things poorly, one after the other, very, very quickly.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling the myth of multitasking. We've combed through the neuroscience, the behavioral studies, all of it, to answer one question. Why can't we really do it all at once?
And if we can't, why does it feel so much like we can? The answer is fascinating because it's not about willpower, it's not about trying harder, it's about architecture.
It's the architecture of the brain.
The physical limitations of the gray matter inside your skull.
Okay, so let's start right there. Most of us think we're multitasking. If I'm driving and listening to a podcast, it feels parallel. Why does the science say that's just an illusion?
Because of a concept called rapid task switching. That's the real term for what's happening.
Rapid task switching.
Yep. And unless one of the tasks is completely automatic, and we'll get to that exception, it's important, your brain is not parallel processing. It's serial processing.
It's serial, meaning one by one, like standing in a queue.
Precisely. It's a toggle switch. You focus on the Zoom call click, you switch to the text click, you switch back to the email.
And that click is just so fast, I don't notice it.
It happens in milliseconds. So it creates this seamless illusion that it's all happening at once. It feels like a continuous flow. But internally, it's incredibly expensive.
When you say expensive, are we talking energy, time?
All of it. Energy, time, and accuracy. Before we even get to the switch cost, we have to understand the hardware, why the brain even has this wall in the first place.
Right, because I think the common assumption is that the brain is like a computer. I can open 20 tabs, have Spotify playing, my laptop handles it all. Why can't I just, upgrade my mental RAM?
That analogy is the source of so much confusion. A modern computer has multiple cores. It can physically run different data streams at the same time.
Okay.
Your conscious mind, for these kinds of attention-heavy tasks, is essentially a single core processor.
So there's a hard bottleneck.
There is. It's called the architecture of attention. You have these executive control networks in your brain, the frontoparietal network, the dorsal attention network.
Right.
Think of them as traffic controllers. And they can only let one car through the intersection at a time. When you try to force 2 demanding tasks through at once, they just hit a wall.
So what happens at that wall? Does the brain just, flip a coin on what to pay attention to?
It's a bit more complex. The brain has to first start processing task A. Then it has to decide that task B is now the priority. It has to redirect all of its attention.
Okay.
Then it has to turn on the specific rule set for task B. The rules for writing an email are different from the rules for listening, right?
Yeah.
And this is the critical part. It has to actively suppress the rules for task A.
Wow, that sounds like a massive amount of administrative work just to glance at a text. It's like firing up a whole new department every 2 seconds.
It is huge. And with fMRI scans, we can actually see this administrative overhead lighting up the brain. There are a couple of key regions doing the heavy lifting.
Okay, what are they?
First, you've got the anterior cingulate cortex, or the ACC.
And what's the ACC's job here?
Think of the ACC as the prioritization manager. Every single time you switch, even from a spreadsheet to your inbox, the ACC lights up to reconfigure your goal. It's the part that says, okay, new priority, read this email. It detects the conflict.
But it's not just about starting the new thing, right? You mentioned suppression.
Exactly. And that's where the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the DLPFC, comes in. Its job is to handle what we call interference.
Interference.
Yeah. So if you're listening to that meeting, your brain is holding all the context, the jargon, the tone. When you switch to the text, the DLPFC has to actively shove all that meeting context aside to make room for the texting context.
It's like clearing a whiteboard every time you want to write a new sentence. You wipe it clean, write the text, wipe it clean, and then go back to the meeting notes.
That is a perfect analogy. It happens every single time. So back to your Tuesday morning. You look at your phone, ACC fires, DLPFC fires to suppress the meeting. You type, sounds good. You look back at the screen, ACC fires again, DLPFC fires to suppress the text.
And that's all happening in a fraction of a second.
Yes, but that fraction adds up. We call this the switch cost.
I love that term, switch cost.
Yeah.
It sounds like a hidden fee on a bank statement that you don't see, but it's draining your account.
It's a cognitive tax. And the data on this is, frankly, sobering. A foundational study by Rubenstein, Meyer, and Evans found that this constant toggling can cost as much as 40% of a person's productive time.
Wait, 40%.
40?
40.
Are you serious? That's almost half the workday.
Almost half. If you're a chronic context switcher, you are effectively working at 60% capacity. You're in the office for 8 hours, but you're only getting about 5 hours of real brain work done. The rest is just wasted heat.
You're just revving the engine in neutral.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
But what about, accuracy, intelligence? I assume the quality of the work drops too.
Drastically. There's a comparison that usually stops people in their tracks. The cognitive impact of this constant switching, the errors, the lack of recall, it's roughly equivalent to dropping 10 IQ points temporarily.
10 points. That's significant. That's the difference between being brilliant and just being okay.
It is. You are literally making yourself stupider in the moment. You're reducing your own processing power.
Wow.
And here's where it gets worse for the modern knowledge worker. It's not just the switch, it's the recovery. We think we can just glance at a notification, answer it, and snap right back into deep work.
Oh, I feel this constantly. I get interrupted, I deal with it, and then I just stare at my screen for a minute, trying to remember what on earth I was writing.
That stare is the recovery phase. The data shows that if you're interrupted every, say, 3 minutes, which is pretty standard in an open office, it can take up to 30 minutes to regain full cognitive focus on the original complex task.
30 minutes. So if I'm interrupted twice an hour.
You never actually reach deep focus. You spend your entire day just skimming the surface of your work because your brain never gets the time to dive back down. We call it fragmentation.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here. I accept the science, but my experience tells me there are exceptions. I can drive and listen to an audiobook. I can walk and chew gum. Are you telling me those are illusions too?
Oh, of course.
Because I'm pretty sure I didn't crash my car today.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. There is an exception. It's called the automaticity loophole.
A loophole. I like loopholes.
You can combine tasks if, and this is a big if, one of them is highly automatic and uses a different part of the brain.
Like walking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you were a toddler, walking was a demanding task. Now, it relies on your cerebellum. It's hard-coded. It doesn't really need your prefrontal cortex.
So my conscious brain isn't driving my legs anymore. It's on autopilot.
Right. So you can walk, which is automatic, and think about a complex problem, which is cortical, at the same time. They aren't fighting for the same resources.
So driving is like that. Mostly automatic.
For an experienced driver on a clear highway, yes. But what happens if a deer jumps out in front of your car?
I stopped listening to the audiobook. Instantly.
Exactly, because driving suddenly requires conscious control. It demands the prefrontal cortex. And the moment two tasks require that conscious control, the loophole slams shut.
This explains why I have to turn the radio down when I'm looking for a new dress in a new neighborhood. I always thought that was just a weird quirk.
It makes perfect physiological sense. You need your executive resources for visual navigation, so your brain turns down the auditory input to free up bandwidth.
And that's why the email and phone call thing is basically impossible.
Impossible. Writing an email uses the language centers in your cortex. Talking on the phone uses the exact same language centers. You're causing a traffic jam.
I have absolutely done that. I've typed, "Thanks, love you," in a client email while hanging up with my spouse. It's mortifying.
That is a classic symptom. Your brain just crossed the streams.
Okay, so most of us are bad at this. But I feel like I know people, maybe younger people, who grew up with screens who seem to thrive on it. Are there super taskers?
There is a tiny, tiny slice of the population, maybe 2%, who are genuinely effective. But here's the paradox, and it's a cruel one.
Go on.
The people who think they're good at multitasking, they're usually the absolute worst at it.
Wait, really? The people who do it the most are the worst?
Yes. Researchers categorize people into heavy media multitaskers, HMMs, and low media multitaskers. The heavy group, the people constantly toggling, they perform significantly worse on cognitive tests than the people who rarely do it.
What are they bad at?
It's deeper than just being distracted. They struggle with attention filtering. They literally cannot filter out irrelevant information.
How do they test for that?
In one famous study, they'd show people red rectangles and blue rectangles and say, just count the red ones. The high multitaskers couldn't help but look at the blue ones. Their brains have been trained to pay attention to everything.
So they've trained themselves to be distractible. They've widened their filter so much they catch all the junk they're supposed to ignore.
That's a perfect way to put it. They also show reduced working memory and struggle with sustained attention. And the scary part is, we're not sure if they multitask because their brains are like that, or if their brains became like that because of the multitasking.
That is a terrifying thought. Is there any silver lining for them at all? Please tell me they have one superpower.
There's one small one. Because their attention is so broad, they're slightly better at integrating multiple sensory inputs when there are attention-grabbing cues.
Meaning?
Meaning, if a fire alarm goes off while they're watching a movie, they might notice it a split second faster.
Great. So I'm ruining my memory and losing 40% of my time, but I'll be the first to know if the building's on fire.
It's a trade-off I wouldn't recommend.
So can we fix this? You mentioned plasticity. If we can wire our brains to be distracted, can we wire them to be better at switching? Can we train for this?
To a degree, yes. There was a study where they had participants train extensively on dual tasks.
And what happened?
They got faster. Brain imaging showed their prefrontal cortex processed the switch more efficiently.
So they became parallel processors.
No. And that is the crucial catch. Training only improves the speed of the switch. It reduces the administrative overhead. But the bottleneck, it's still there. You're just toggling faster. You're still not doing two demanding things at once.
You're just a faster serial processor.
Yeah.
You've upgraded from dial-up to broadband, but it's still one packet at a time.
Precisely. And we have to talk about age, too. As we get older, this mechanism gets a bit rusty.
How so?
Well, interestingly, older adults don't necessarily struggle with the switch itself. The ACC still fires just fine to change the goal. They struggle with the recovery. They have a much harder time disengaging from the interruption and getting back into the flow. The residue of the last task sticks around longer.
So that, wait, where was I? Moment. Just gets longer as we age.
It does, which makes protecting your focus even more important.
I want to touch on the emotional side of this. We've talked about efficiency, IQ. But how does this constant toggling make us feel?
This is where you see the hitting health costs. Frequent task switching correlates very strongly with stress and burnout. Your brain is constantly in a state of high alert, reprioritizing every few seconds. It creates frustration, reduced job satisfaction.
It's that illusion of productivity again. We feel so busy, but we also feel empty at the end of the day.
Incredibly busy. But the reality is you're slower, more error-prone. And maybe the biggest loss of all is creativity.
How does it kill creativity?
Creativity needs memory consolidation. It needs you to connect new information with old information, to let it marinate. That process is shattered by multitasking. You can't have a deep insight if you're resetting your cognitive workspace every 3 minutes.
That hits home. The days I feel the most busy are often the days I look back and think, what did I actually build today?
That's the trap of perpetual partial attention. You're everywhere, so you're effectively nowhere.
Okay, let's get practical. We can't all move to a cabin in the woods. What is the tactical takeaway?
The mission is sequential focus. You just have to accept the architecture of your brain. You cannot parallel process demanding tasks, so don't even try.
But my laundry and my audiobook.
That's fine. That's the loophole. Pair an automatic task, like laundry or commuting, with one demanding task, like a phone call. That works.
But never two demanding tasks. No typing while talking.
Never. Do the webinar, then do the report. Sequential focus.
This sounds so simple.
It is, but it's also an economic necessity. Remember that 40% loss statistic. Defending your focused work time isn't a luxury. It's the only way to get your full brain power back.
And you'll literally be smarter while you do it.
Statistically speaking, yes. You get to keep those 10 IQ points.
I would like to keep those. Thank you very much. This has been a huge reality check.
Yeah.
I think I'm closing my extra tabs right after this.
I highly recommend it.
Before we go, we want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. We talk about how heavy multitaskers might be physically changing their brain structure.
Right, wiring themselves to be unable to filter out irrelevance.
So if our entire modern digital world, with its notifications, ads, multiple screens, is constantly forcing us into this rapid switching state, are we essentially training the entire human species to be distractible? Are we slowly, permanently eroding our capacity for deep thought?
It's a question worth focusing on, but please, do it one thing at a time.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.